I've talked about how sometimes the right move from a PR perspective is to not say anything at all. But there is a pretty huge but on that statement. If the only time you are communicating with your fan base, with your potential players, is when something has gone so wrong that you have no choice but to talk to them, then you've put yourself into a pretty bad place, because it means that you have no relationship with that fan base, with those potential players. And the only thing they're ever getting from you is bad news. So you need to build that relationship up when you don't need it, so it's already there when you do. Ideally, you want to have an open communication pipe with your community, where you are sharing things with them, good and bad, to establish that level of trust so that they know who you are, they know the kinds of information that you are going to deliver, they know that they should listen to you. Then, when you need them to listen because something bigger has happened, something that requires a bigger, louder, or more sensitive interaction, you already have built that relationship with them where they're willing to listen. What you see with a lot of big corporations is they've really locked their communication down because they don't want to ever say the wrong things. Instead, they choose, for the most part, to say nothing. But like we talked about before, sometimes you don't have a choice to say nothing. If you are going along completely silent and then you need to release Somber press release screenshot, that's going to hit in a different way than if you have been talking to them all the way along and then you need to have that conversation with them. We've seen a company do this incredibly successfully. Larian's interaction with its community is very strong, very open. There's a lot of development out loud going on with them. I really like that. They may have the ability to do things that a larger publisher that's a publicly traded company may have a bit more difficulty with, but I do think there are lessons there to be learned for all studios, for all corporations, in terms of building up your relationship with your community. And if Larian needed to deliver some bad news, they would find themselves getting a much better interaction with the community on that bad news than someone who's never said anything to their community will if they suddenly come out and say something bad is going on. So if you're hearing all this and you're kind of buying in, you might be tempted to try to open this channel with something really lightweight and fluffy. You have the community manager run a fan art contest on your Facebook page. You share some important dates with regard to your product. That's all useful, but it's not enough, because what you end up with is too great of a distance between the style of interactions you have. If you have only ever done really fluffy contests and sharing of art with your community, and then you need to deliver bad news, that's better than having said nothing, but it's not going to really bridge that gap. You need to really engage in the kinds of things they're interested in. Share more behind the scenes. Pull the curtain back more. Have an actual relationship with them. It's work, and it can be a fair bit of work, and it does open you up to potentially saying the wrong thing. Like when you discuss how you chose to do a certain thing, people might get mad at you because they might not like the way you made that decision. And now you're dealing with a little bit of backlash, where if you'd said nothing, that wouldn't have happened. But if you've been building that relationship, if you've had that open communication channel, chances are that little backlash will be little. It will be small because you are establishing this relationship. You have this back and forth. You have this communication channel, and you're able to build and build and build into something, into a community, into a relationship that's able to handle worse and worse news. This is not without risk. If you go out and you start to pull back the curtain and what you're showing is kind of horrible, then yeah, it's gonna potentially blow up in your face. That's the risk you are taking in order to have the power that comes with this community relationship. I completely think that it is worth it. I think the power that comes here by having this relationship, by having a community that is somewhat self-healing, that is willing to listen to you, that is willing to give you useful feedback, is so much greater than the risk that comes along with having this communication. But I understand that, yes, there is risk here. So I know it's scary. I know that parts of your organization would rather say nothing. Parts of your organization would rather only ever talk to the shareholders. But you need to build up that community. You need to build up that relationship. You need to open those communication channels now when you don't need them, or they won't be there when you do need them. A special thanks to my members. They provide the resources that this channel needs to keep running. If you're interested in becoming a member, there's a link to that down in the description. We have merch. This is the High Tea on the High Seas hoodie. It's served me very well. If you're interested in picking something up, there's a shelf below this video that helps support the channel as well. What are some companies that you've interacted with that have had an open channel with their consumers, with their players, with their fan bases? Not just within the video game industry. What about other places where that relationship was really good and really open, and you found yourself interacting with the corporation in a more positive way? Put those down in the comments and we'll talk about it. What about the opposite? Have you had the experience of a company that was refusing to interact with you at all and then suddenly had no choice, and that interaction was so discordant that it was very unpleasant? Let me know that down in the comments as well. I will see you again soon. Thank you.